What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the newest episode of the Bleav in Oregon podcast. I'm joined by my good friend and fellow beat reporter, Erik Skopil from 247 Sports. Erik, what's up, man? Long time no see. How we doing?
It hasn't been that long. It was like, what, an hour ago in the press box?
I think maybe an hour. Yeah, last time we saw you.
Yeah, when we walked out together and we're talking on our way to our cars. Life's good. I mean, if you're an Oregon fan, you're feeling really good after this one, I think.
Yeah, this was a very stress-free afternoon inside Autzen Stadium, which you can't always say that about a top 25 matchup. But I think going into this, we had a feeling that it was going to be a relative. I don't know. I didn't think it was going to be a close game personally. Did you?
I thought it was going to be a 2-score final margin. I didn't think it was going to feel close, but I mean, Illinois hadn't been blown out like this since Brett Bielema had been there. I mean, totally stomped like this. So I didn't know if they would do it. And I'm really credit to Oregon for this game was never competitive.
No, not at all. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I saw this coming. My final score prediction was 42-13. Myself and Jay Stu talked about it this week that I didn't think these two teams were on the same playing field. So I was not too surprised with what we saw today. We're going to go through a quick recap of the game. Going to go through some initial takeaways from the game, highlight some of our top players. And then I've got a quarterback question for you to end the show. Does that all sound good?
I'm down for whatever. You're the captain of this one.
All right. I'm steering the ship.
Yeah. You lead me wherever and I'll follow.
All right. Well, like we said, the final was 38-9 Oregon. I personally feel like that doesn't quite do justice to how lopsided this game was. The Ducks were up 35-3 at half. They outgained Illinois by 363-89 in the first half alone. They held them to 1 for 5 on third downs. Dylan Gabriel already had 4 touchdowns on the day by halftime. And then the second half was a different story, as it kind of has been for a lot of the year. That third quarter is still kind of this team's bugaboo. Oregon was scoreless in the third quarter. They got a field goal in the fourth. The backups got in the game. I feel like they took their foot off the gas. The final was 38-9. Erik, what was your biggest kind of initial takeaway from this game when you were leaving Autzen tonight?
This looked like the number one team in the country for especially that first half. Like I think if you were watching this game and maybe you're flipping back and forth between games, if you just watched the first half and then flipped somewhere else, you were like, that is the number one team. Like if you watched everybody else this year, that team is really complete. Like Illinois had been really competitive every week, even against Penn State in a game that was, I think 14 was the margin, but it could have been closer if they would have been able to make some field goals and didn't turn it over a couple of times in bad spots. But they really put it to them. And I was just impressed, I guess, in that first half. Again, looked like the number one team, and then the totality of it. Like, I don't think there was really a weak spot. Like, the offense looked great from the start. The defense was suffocating. The special teams weren't making mistakes, at least. So,
hey, 44-yard field goal.
Andrew Boyle, our guy.
Not nothing.
And Luke Dunn, I think that was maybe second half, but he had a nice little directional punt. So there was but in that first half, I was like, this is as well as this team's played all year, probably in a single half. And I'd have to go through year by year, game by game since Dan's been here, but that was probably one of the better first halves this program has played under Lanning.
Yeah, I think that definitely one of like the first, just a single half, whether first or second, they've played some really good halves. Like I think about the Utah game last year, they had really good. That was a good 4 quarters too, but yeah, one of the best halves for sure of his era. My biggest takeaway, I think Dewan Riggs might be the next great Oregon running back.
Wow.
I'm kidding.
Okay.
He looks good. I'm prone to hyperbole when it comes to these young guys.
Is Jurion Dickey on your 7-on-7 draft? Yeah, that was
still waiting on that one to pan out.
That was a choice.
Seriously though, I think I'm about ready to call this the best Oregon defense since fill in the blank. 2019, maybe 2008, the D-boys. I don't exactly know when. Like I want to dive into the numbers to make a definitive statement on that. But I feel comfortable saying that this is the best defense of the Dan Lanning era. It feels like this is the best defensive we've seen in some time in Eugene. I want to compare the numbers this week to how that defense in 2019 looked. How that 2008 defense. I know there were some good ones under Chip too. But this is
the
really
game,
good defense. Yeah.
I was going to say the Gang Green defense. I think that was back in the 90s or maybe
94, 95, great defense as well. There's been some good units. It feels like we're getting to the time of the year, like we've got enough sample size where it's like, okay, this is a really good unit. They are shutting guys down.
And again, the cool part about it, like I was just talking about how the totality of this game was like really impressive. Like Oregon does it at kind of all three levels defensively.
They do.
I had concerns going into this game and the Ohio State game, not massive in this game, but just of like, these are some talented receivers on the outside. Illinois has probably the second best receiving core Oregon's going to play all season. And I thought Nico Reed played excellent again. Like this is becoming a consistent thing where like a guy who we were like, oh, he's a pretty good slot corner last year. Like he's a decent fill-in, but he's probably not going to play a huge role this year. It's kind of now it's like, he's for real, and he's playing really well. And he's not the only one in the secondary. Obviously, Jabbar's been great. Brandon Johnson's been great. And then the front, I mean, this front, like, talk about best defense Oregon's had. I can't think of a defensive line / outside linebacker group Oregon's had that's been quite like this. I know they had Haloti Ngata and Igor Olshansky together back in 99 or 2000, something like that, a while ago. Mm-hmm. But like, there's just a ton of guys here, and they're doing it the last 2 weeks. I think they've had like 7 sacks and 17 tackles for loss, and Jordan Birch isn't even playing. So
their best defensive player is not on the field.
It's just impressive, just top to bottom, how good this defense is. I'm in total agreement that you're starting to have those conversations of like, gosh, where does this stack up all time?
Well, and what's also really impressive is Dan Lanning has harped on this a lot, but there hasn't really been a drop off yet once you see those young guys get in. I know we haven't seen the young guys play a ton this year because they haven't really taken care of business in all of the games that they're supposed to yet. But in the past couple of games, we've gotten to see some young guys like today and against the Purdue game as well. Sione Laulea, that was a terrible pronunciation of the name. Sione Laulea, is that how you say it? I think it's close.
I think the last name is right. I think the first name we were corrected, isn't it Sion?
Is it Sion?
Or
I was talking to Jared on the drive home, and he was saying Sione, but I don't know. That threw me for a loop.
I don't know. So we got corrected at one point, and I know I'm not even sure. Gosh, Dan's going to be so disappointed.
I'm sure Dan listens, so yeah, he will be very disappointed. Number 13 on the defense, the JUCO transfer. Very good. Had his first interception tonight. But just all those guys, those young guys are getting in. They're upholding the standard, like Lanning has said, is so important to this team. So I just think that's always something you obviously want to see from your young guys.
Yeah, and again, the interesting part about this is they've not played as many true freshmen as I would have thought. Like I was just looking at it, 14 true freshmen from this 24 signing class, which is the best in school history, are going to redshirt. They haven't played it all this season. There's only 4 regular season games left. Postseason doesn't count towards that total. And so more than half of this class isn't going to be, this year doesn't count towards their eligibility windows. And
do you have those names with you?
Yeah, I do.
Sorry, I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll read you the list. Here's we got Ife Obadegwu, who I think Don Essig thought made a play, but I don't think was with the team.
He also was not there. We didn't have him in attendance, but I did hear him say that when we were going down to the field.
It was Bryson Cobbins, but he was actually on the participation chart, so somebody needs to correct that.
Okay.
Shaq McRoy, Aaron Flowers. Flowers is a guy I really thought would play. I'm surprised he hasn't seen any action.
Good, yeah.
Dakota Fields, Kamar Mathudi, Fox Crater, Dylan Williams, Dylan Gresham, Jackson Jones, Devin Brooks, Jack Ressler, AJ Pugliano, Luke Moga, and Trent Ferguson are the 14 that I have as not playing.
So all of those guys are for sure redshirting.
Should be, yep. Unless there was a name in there that has played a game that I'm not aware of, but that's as far as I know, that's the list.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a lot of talent in that class coming in. I thought a lot of these guys would be kind of instant impact guys. I thought Aaron Flowers would be, I was being told this offseason that he had a chance to be a major contributor on this defense as a true freshman. And it's like, okay, he's barely seen him at all. Has he played a single game? I don't know if you have that on there.
No, that was that all those guys haven't played a single snap. All 14.
Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I think that's in the end a good thing. You're getting a red shirt for those guys. I'd love to see them get a little bit of run, but that's why I'm not the coach of this team.
And now you can start to play them, though, in future games because there's no threat to burn the red shirt. So maybe this is where we start seeing Aaron Flowers and some of these guys that we thought would be more involved.
That's very true. All right, let's get to what I like to call our quacks of the game. But first, I have to tell you guys about Cherry Bundy. Eric, have you ever heard of this drink, Cherry Bundy?
Can't say I have.
Okay, it's this drink right here. It's very good, very tasty. It is a natural anti-inflammatory supplement with no added sugar, made primarily from tart cherries, which are the highest antioxidant fruit and vegetable in the world. They've got drinks, concentrates, gummies, all aimed at reducing soreness and increasing recovery in athletes. They also contain naturally occurring melatonin that helps improve sleep and support immunity. You might like that sleep help, actually, now that I think about it.
Can I pop over and grab a container of those?
Hey, I've got cases of these in the garage, man. Yes, I can bring some to you. Cherry Bundy is what's in the locker room at Oregon. This is what this team uses for recovery, which is why we are so excited to partner with them and to get that message out there. Cherry Bundy is used in nearly 500 collegiate and professional sports teams, including every NFL team, 10 of the last Super Bowl champions as well. You can find all Cherry Bundy products at Amazon or at cherrybundy.com. Go get yours today. It's backed by science and certified by champions. All right, let's get to our crash of the game, Eric. Who stood out for you today? Let's go back and forth. Let's do like 2 or 3 each.
Okay. I'll make it easy. Noah Whittington. This was somebody who I think most of the fan base, and even we talked about it on the Odds and Audibles podcast that I'm a part of, just didn't quite look right. Just hadn't really been playing up to the standard. Mm-hmm. The stats told you that. I think watching the games told you that. I thought he ran with a different purpose, a different physicality. I mean, that run where he just kind of punctuated it on the end zone. Tez said exactly what I thought while I was watching it live, which was there's no way he's not scoring here. All he has to do is sidestep this guy or spin on this guy and he's going to go in. And the fact that he just took it right at him and said, no, I'm running right through this guy. That really impressed me. And it wasn't his only good play of the day. He had another one on a screen pass where he kind of squirted through traffic and ended up getting about a 20-yard gain. Had a second touchdown on, I guess, a reception. I don't know what that was.
Yeah,
it's
the option kind of forward pitch. Yeah.
Forward pitch. Yeah. Weird. Okay. But I just thought that was somebody who, again, there had been kind of concerns, at least externally, about okay, is this guy ready to be an impact player in big moments? And gosh, tonight he absolutely was.
Yeah, you love to see him coming off the injury and just finally looking fully healthy and kind of like the Noah Whittington that we were used to that was running alongside Bucky Irving last year. So that is great for them. I'm going to highlight Justice Lowe, first career touchdown, 2 catches for 51 yards. This guy's kind of forced himself to be a part of this offense. He kind of got that door opening when Tashawn Holden went out with the suspension. I don't think he's going to give back a huge part of that role. I mean, he may step aside a little bit as Tashawn gets back into the offense, the flow of things. But, I mean, this guy has a role in the offense. Justice Lowe is a really good player. I think they're going to continue to go to him going forward.
Yeah, my expectation, Zach, was Tashawn was going to kind of come back and just have the same role he'd had before. And Justice was going to play maybe a dozen, maybe a dozen and a half snaps. I don't think that's the case. We'll see when PFF releases the snap counts tomorrow. I think Justice clearly outsnapped Tashawn, and I think Justice probably played pretty close to how many snaps Evan and Tez played, it felt like. So, yeah, he would be right near there for Noah and Justice to me were the 2 picks for the guys that stood out the most, especially in offense. I just thought they were both integral to the success, and for Justice to make 2 catches today, we know he's a good blocker. Those are both tough catches, a really nice adjustment on the touchdown. And then the second one was one where I was okay, he can go get it. So I'm starting to think now, Zach, long-term next year, all these guys around him are basically out of eligibility. We might be looking at somebody who's going to be kind of a focal point of this pass offense next year. And that did not feel like an outcome I was expecting at all coming in.
Yeah, not at all. I think he's been a very, just a very great addition to this offense. I did not see it coming at all. Who else do you have to highlight?
I thought Tashawn played really well. This is somebody who at times has been kind of up and down. Coverage, I don't think, is a strong suit, but 10 tackles today. Also had an interception, made a nice play on that. Had a tackle for loss or half of one. This is a leader on this defense who's been, I think, maybe a little quiet this year. Yeah, I thought he was a really impactful player today, and it was good to see, especially, again, coming into this game where you had those talented receivers on the outside and you needed people to step up and make a play. And not that I want to applaud him taking a player out of the game, but a hit he made on Pat Bryant did end Pat Bryant's night, and that was quite a hit.
Was not targeting.
And he's and the best part is he's eligible to play in the first half against Michigan, because for a moment there it looked like he wouldn't be.
Yeah. All right, I will highlight stay in the defensive backfield. Nico Reed, 1 tackle for loss, a career high, 3 pass breakups. This is a guy that, kind of like Justice Lowe, I didn't expect him to be this big of a part of the defense, but it's kind of like, Oregon needed to find who was going to be that cornerback opposite Jabbar Muhammad. So far, they've got Dante Moten and Nico Reed, who are both stepping up, I think, playing some really good football this year.
Yeah, those 2 guys are excellent. And again, coming into the year, it was kind of like, oh, maybe it'll be Jaleel Florence, maybe it'll be Cam Alexander, and then it's these 2 guys, and they've shared it. And like now we've seen them play probably the 2 best, or maybe at least 2 of the best receiving corps in this conference. Yeah, and stack up pretty dang well. So yeah, those are 2 guys that need to be talked about. And then are we doing one more?
Yeah, do one more.
You've already brought his name up, but I mean, we hadn't seen Dewan Riggs play, and like
he looked
really good. And like again,
let's drink the Kool-Aid.
Let's drink it. And like it doesn't matter for this year; it has 0 bearing. This is like, I know we see people will be like, he needs to play more. Well, he's not going to. He's going to be.
No, he doesn't need to. He's fine.
No, he's fine. They've got their 2 running backs. They've got Jaden Lamar, who plays, I don't know, handful of snaps every game.
Jay Harris too.
Jay Harris and Riggs are the 2 guys kind of that are the supplementary pieces. Yeah, they both look good. Like Riggs had some real wheels there on that first touch, 24 yards down the field. Yeah. Looked great.
He was quicker than I thought he would be.
Yeah, he's an interesting. I really liked his tape coming out of high school, so I was kind of always high on him. But he was great today.
What's interesting is, like, yes, we've seen the high school tape, but like that does not always translate to, college football. You can't always project like, oh, he looked like this in high school, he's going to look like this in college. And we really hadn't seen him at all yet. So like I had no idea what to expect. And when he got out there, it's like, okay, I saw someone on Twitter joking. I don't know if it was a joke or they're being serious, but they're like, he looks an awful lot like another Oregon running back who wore number 21 in Eugene. And I'm like, all right, let's settle down a little bit. It's been 5 carries.
5 carries, and we're like, that's the Michael James 2.0.
But hey, let's drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, and I will say, like, this was literally the first time I've seen him touch a football. Yeah, he wasn't here in the spring. He was not here in the spring. We don't see anything in practice that would constitute anything. And we hadn't seen him play a game until today. And like, honestly, first impressions are really good. And again, I won't matter for this year, but maybe this is a guy who's going to be kind of involved next year. I don't know. We'll see.
I like it. All right, my last one, we'll end it with this, is I'm going to try it again. Sion Laulea. I think that was right.
Let's do it.
Nothing more than just his interception, which was a nice play on the ball. He was really stride for stride with the receiver, turned his head around, got it around quickly, and made a play on the ball. I just think it's something you love to see from he was I think the number 1 JUCO prospect this past year. Mm-hmm. High expectation for him. He's got a real, I was talking to Jared about this on the drive home, like a really kind of Brian Addison type, like rangy body, but at the cornerback position, I'm excited to see what he can do with a bigger role in the defense.
We should I know we're only doing 3 quacks each, but can we just acknowledge Tez Johnson totally set the tone in this game? And
he was on my list too.
2 incredible plays in the first couple of drives. That first touchdown was awesome. I mean, first off, the
whole kind of play was incredible.
It was, I mean, Dylan's back there for like 10 seconds. It feels like no one's open. Yeah. Tez ends up kind of like coming off his man, kind of selling it, going upfield, nice throw. And then he just makes a bunch of guys miss and then scores. And then that like weird screen pass, or just kind of like
a catch.
Yeah. Where he just one hands it, pulls it in, and then runs down the field for 20 yards. Like both of those are plays where like the average receiver probably doesn't catch the second one. And the first one, I don't think many guys are able to score from that part of the field. So he deserves some appreciation, but we talk about him all the time.
Well, and that's what's funny about this. I mean, he had 6 catches for 102 yards and a touchdown. And it's just like, yeah, it's your average Tez game. That's just kind of what we've come to expect from him this season. All right, let's close out with this. I got a question for you. Why are we not seeing Dante more?
I think it goes back to the redshirt situation.
That's the thing. Like, That's my point of contention, though. Maybe I am off base here, but I don't feel like the redshirt thing should be an issue because he gets 4 games. I Bleav he's played in 2. First of all, I don't think Dante Moore is staying here for 3 years if he is who we think he is. I don't think that the downside of him losing his red shirt is worse than the upside of him getting some of these reps in a fourth quarter game where like that seems super valuable to me. I would love to see what he can do in this offense. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm yelling at clouds over here.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point, and frankly, I would like to see more Dante Moore. I think one of the games he entered, he like didn't do anything besides take a couple knees, which was maybe not the best use of that if you are working towards the red shirt. Which I think is, I really do think that's what's happening. I think they're playing, they're making. I mean, Austin's already redshirted, so you can play him 17. You could play him every game, and he could play 1 snap every one of those games, and it wouldn't matter. Whereas Dante, you're working around a 4 game limit, and I guess I'll be curious to see over these last couple of games, like, do they get to a point where they just work towards making sure he's the one that sees the field? Because I was a little bit surprised because it had felt like at times they were rotating between game to game, Austin to Dante. Today felt like it was in terms of order, should have been Dante's game, but clearly it wasn't. But no, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think they're just trying to preserve the redshirt year. And to your point about like down the road, I guess I get that point about like who cares about the year, but like what if it really matters to have that year?
That's true. But I just feel like talking about, we both thought he would be in this game. This felt like a game too where they had the runway and the time to actually give him some meaningful reps. I understand not wanting to put him out there for the last 2 drives a game where you're running 3 times and then punting or kneeling the ball out. That's fine. But when you're up, 35 to I think 9 at the point going into the fourth quarter where it's like, all right, we've got this game in hand. That's when I would like to see him put in and say, hey, go get 4 drives and just kind of feel it out, get comfortable, get some of this experience. But once again, that's why I'm not being paid millions of dollars to coach this team, I suppose.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason. Yes, that's what I'm told.
Because you failed to understand the redshirt strategy for sophomore quarterbacks.
Apparently.
Otherwise, you could live in Dan's house. You'd have that property. It'd be yours.
He does not live that far from me. It's just a little bit of a different neighborhood.
I would imagine.
Just a little bit. All right, that's going to do it for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, go subscribe to the show, rate, review, all of that stuff. Help us grow our audience. Erik, thank you so much for coming on and break down this game with me. It was a lot of fun. Before we go, why don't you tell the people where they can read your stuff, listen to your stuff, find all of your good work?
Yeah, come on over to duckterritory.com and read our work over there. And we do our own podcast. We actually have our own recap podcast that we recorded right before Zach and I went live here on the Odds and Audibles. You can find that on YouTube. You can find that on Spotify or whatever app on your phone you use for podcasts. So come check us out. We do a pretty good work. I think we have a fun time. And also support the people that are actually covering the team. That would be my suggestion. Zach and I and our guys over at the Duck Territory, we're at everything. So I think maybe give us some clicks.
I like that. That's a nice note to end out on. That's a good one. Support the people who are actually on the ground covering the team. That's always a good thing.
Seems good to me.
Let's end it there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate it. We will talk to you guys later this week. In stream.